It's something Johnson County residents look forward to every year. On this episode, find out what's in store for Theater in the Park audiences.
Whether you live in or just love Johnson County, Kansas, JoCo on the Go has everything Johnson County. Here's what's happening and what's coming up in the community you call home.
Thanks for joining us for JoCo on the Go. I'm your host, Teresa Freed, a Johnson County resident and employee of Johnson County government. The Theater in the Park schedule is out, and it's packed with great entertainment for residents of all ages. Here to talk more about that, we have with us Tim Bear, Fine and Performing Arts Manager for Johnson County Park and Recreation District. And we also have with us Barbara Nichols, who's going to tell us all about this year's season opener. Thank you both for joining us today. First off, can you tell us what's in store for this year's Theater in the Park season, Tim?
Absolutely. Well, our season opener is starting, and that's why Barbara's with us, because she's actually the director of our first show and a co-writer of the Sparkletones. So we get a world premiere right out of the gate for 2022, which is really exciting. And then, of course, we have our 5 shows for this summer, and we're opening with Something Rotten, and then Descendants, School of Rock, Zombie Prom. It's always good to have a zombie in there. And the SpongeBob musical for our summer season. And in the fall, Barb will be back with us actually for Patsy Cline, Always Patsy Cline, which is a very sweet story. And then our holiday show in December is Seussical, the musical.
That sounds like a lot of fun for all ages, of course. And can you talk a little bit about how Theater in the Park transitions from indoor to outdoor and kind of what that looks like, so people know that, you know, almost all year round you can enjoy this?
For sure. We're indoor. We're at the Johnson County Arts and Heritage Center in Overland Park at 87th and Metcalf. And indoor it feels like a breeze sometimes, really, compared to outside. It's in the Black Box Theater, which is a very, very sweet space. And it's much more intimate, of course, than outside, which is gigantic and has a whole park and wildlife and everything around it. So our outdoor, when we're outdoor, that's quite a feat. We have a scenic crew that comes on about mid-May that starts building scenery and stuff for us. We have concessions, of course, in front of house staff, and my word, the groundskeepers and the horticulturists and everybody. So it's quite a big group of folks. And then we move back inside, of course, for fall. So it's kind of always a nice little thing to come inside. I think one of the biggest differences is the weather, of course. And when we're inside, we can focus lights and rehearse and do all kinds of stuff all day long. And at the park, we're not all, able to do that. But I really enjoy inside, but I think outdoor is what probably most everyone associates us with.
Yes, certainly. And I'm trying to remember, I think there was some discussion about just the level of involvement, a lot of people volunteering their time. Can you just talk about what all goes into these productions?
Sure. Well, we start really early, actually, for summer, because our auditions are in April now. And goodness sakes, every show outdoor has about a 10-person production staff on it. So there's 50 people that are actually helping us put together the shows: music directors, stage managers, choreographers, that kind of stuff. And on a good year, well, I say a good year, we could see 600 people audition for our 5 shows, which is pretty remarkable, because generally speaking, nowadays we have maybe 150, 175 people that will appear on stage. Really, it depends on what shows we have and how big the ensembles are, how many dancers we need, that kind of stuff. So it's a very involved kind of early in the year. And then that takes us through the first weekend in March. Generally, our summer season ends. But then, of course, we carry on with the fall too. And we have individual auditions for our spring show, our fall, and our holiday show as well.
And just the production experience, it's just amazing when you watch it. And so when I watched it, I'm shocked at how talented everyone is who's involved in all of this. And so can you talk about, has this helped launch careers in theater?
Well, it certainly has. And just personally speaking, I'll say it's actually where I really began. And one of the very first shows that I worked on as a not on stage person was as a choreographer, and Barb was involved as well. Barb directed Oklahoma. I think it was 1988, I think. Are we allowed to say how old we are?
Well, not very loudly, but yes, you could say that.
I look great for 100.
Yes. And I was 12 when I directed it, so.
Exactly.
That's really impressive.
And honestly, yes, there have been numerous people on our stage that have gone on to, regional careers, Broadway careers, really. And there have been a few film people, I believe, that have been on our stage that have enjoyed some Hollywood success. So I think it's a really, it's a great place to get a start and to hone your craft. I had a friend that was a casting director in New York, and she called me one time and she goes, "What is in the water in Kansas? All these people from Kansas keep coming in and they're wonderful." So I think, we're just one theater in town, but I think Kansas City just in general is a really great place. There's lots of theater going on. People can get on stage, they can work backstage, that's a whole nother element too. People on production staffs and technicians that really want to go on and have large careers. Many of them have worked at Theater in the Park with us.
Oh, I certainly believe it. And we want to talk about this season opener. So Barbara, tell us all about it. How did this happen? And then what can the audience expect?
Well, it's an original musical called the Sparkletones. And the idea, my writing partner, Krista Eiler, who's also in the show, her mother was actually in a singing group in the late 60s, a 4-woman singing group called the Sparkletones. And we took that concept and then just kind of made our own show out of it. So it's set in the late 60s into the 70s, and it's this group that gets stranded. As people who live in Kansas know, if the weather can change on a dime, and they're on their way to Denver and they get stranded in western Kansas because of the weather and have to spend the night at a diner. And things happen that evening about the dynamics of the group. And so it's got a great score. It's got some 60s sort of songs. They do some as the group, and then it's also telling the story of their lives and their relationships.
It's very sweet too, Teresa. I'll say that part of the show is later, as I understand it, later in her life, Krista's mom was a member of a how's it called?
Red
Robin group, where they would trade letters back and forth. How old-fashioned, writing a letter by hand, how fun. And they incorporated that into the show too. And there's very, very sweet moments in the show when they're conversing back and forth in letters, and it helps tell the story. It's really sweet. And the music's lovely, and the cast is just wonderfully talented. And I'm just so excited we get to do it. It's just really fun.
And so what did the audition process look like? How did you fill these roles?
Because this is a co-production, we had planned to do it last year, and we had already reached out to the actors that we wanted. And so we did not have auditions for this show. We had already cast it, and then we partnered with the park. So, but it's people, actors people will recognize. I said Krista was on stage last summer in Curtains at Theater in the Park. Reed Youthy has been in many Theater in the Park auditions. We also have Jennifer Renfro, Marianne Traxler, who was in shows last summer at the park, and Leah Swank Miller.
Yeah, Jennifer was actually Mary Poppins when we did Mary Poppins some years ago, a couple of seasons.
Well, that says a lot about the productions, that people keep wanting to come back and do it again, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does.
So can you talk a little bit about what you're doing right now? It's rehearsal time, right?
Yes, we have a 5-week rehearsal process. So we rehearse Sunday afternoons, and then in the evenings, Monday through Thursday. We're about 3.5 weeks in, so the show is all staged. Most everything is learned, and now we're just having the opportunity to start running acts and what we call cleaning it, tweaking it, grabbing things and finding our moments, and fine-tuning as we go. So we've got probably 7 more rehearsals before we approach Tech Week, when we'll start getting on the stage, adding the props, adding the costumes, adding the lights, layering all of those wonderful things in to get ready for performance.
Yeah.
And so when is the opening night?
March 18th.
Mm-hmm.
And
Just
we
around
run
the
for
corner.
3 weekends through April 3rd. And I'm sure we can just mention that tickets are available at the Johnson County Theater in the Park website.
Theaterinthepark.org. And in fact, tickets are selling actually nicely right now, which is terrific. Theater in the Park generally has a pretty late buying audience, and and certainly can be a challenge when we're in a time that there's the possibility of weather, like we're living right now. Summer
Right.
one day and a foot of snow the next, but tickets are selling well. So it's exciting. So folks should get online and get their tickets and come see the show for sure.
And I think our community is probably just looking for some normalcy, and Theater in the Park certainly represents that. So can you talk about kind of how the pandemic has impacted production and all of that, and
Sure.
kind of where you're at now?
Yeah. Well, much like everyone else in 2020, when the world shut down in March, we were going into our very first night of our spring show tech rehearsal, which was Be More Chill at the time. So they'd gone through 4 weeks of rehearsal and were ready to go on stage, ready to start tech rehearsal, and that was it. It was done. And we held on, and I kept saying, let's wait a minute. We kept thinking, okay, a week, maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a month it'll take for this. And in the end, of course, eventually our entire season was dark, which was sad. And then last year, we did one spring show called Songs for a New Now, which were local songwriters, and we did some songs in the show. And in fact, we featured one of the songs from Sparkletones in that show. So it was kind of a little prelude to doing the entire show. And then last summer, we really were the first big theater to open and have a full season. And it benefited us, of course, that we're outside, lots of air moving around. The weather was lovely. It was kind of a dip after the whole initial, very first big blow up of stuff. So we had such a successful summer season. We had no illnesses in the casts. Everything went great. We went ahead and moved into our fall and our holiday show, and everything was really good. And I think you're right, Teresa, actually, that when we said we were going to be open, it was a giant sigh of relief. That's great. Let's get out of the house. Let's do something fun. We can do it outside. It didn't feel like, you were closed in around people and stuff. So it was really, really wonderful. And now I think we're hopeful too that, with this Omicron variant, all that kind of stuff, things seem to be getting a little better day by day, and rules get a little released now and then a little bit, but we're moving into the show, and we still have our cleaning protocols, and we're very aware of all that kind of stuff. And I'm just looking forward to another season and a show that people can get excited about. And the end of the show is really, really sweet, and it's uplifting. And I'm just glad that we get to do it, and people will leave. And I know there will be some humming of songs that they've heard.
That sounds good. Yeah, it definitely sounds like a great way to kick off this season. I know a couple of years ago, I was able to take my son to Theater in the Park, and we hadn't done that before because we just moved to Johnson County, and it was Tootie Tootie Bang Bang is the one we saw. And he loved it. And we came home, we had to watch the movie on TV, had to learn the songs and everything. So I think, it just captures hearts in different ways at different ages. And so it's really exciting to see the season moving forward. And so, the important question for our listeners, we know how to get tickets for this performance. So how can we find out that full list of the performances and how to get tickets for all of those shows?
You can go straight onto our website, theaterinthepark.org, and the homepage, you'll see Sparkletones right there. And there's a little bit of a read more right below it. So you can actually you can read the whole synopsis of the show. You can see lovely little bios and photos of Barb and Krista there on that show page. And then every single show in our season is listed there too. And there's lots of details. You can buy tickets right there online, very easy. You can learn about auditions. If you want to come and audition for Theater in the Park, we're always looking for talent. You can show up, sing a song, do a little dance. You never know, might be a star.
Anything. All right, I'll send my son over.
There you go.
All right. Well, thank you both for being here today. And we will have a link to that website in our show notes of the episode, so we can send a lot of people your way. They can sit down and enjoy a great evening of laughter or drama or whatever the case may be for that particular performance. But good luck to you both for the season opener, and then also the entire season.
I appreciate it so much. And thanks for chatting with us. It's nice to be here.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate it. It's nice to be here.
You just heard JoCo on the Go. Join us next time for more Everything Johnson County. Have a topic you want to discuss? We want to hear from you. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at JoCoGov. For more on this podcast, visit jocogov.org/podcast. Thanks for listening.